Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. The African National Congress says its Integrity Commission report was not discussed during its NEC meeting. The report will form part of the organizational report, which will be delivered at the party's elective conference by Deputy President David Mabuza. Another controversial corruption scandal, the digital vibes, was also not discussed. And there has been criticism of the judges that have put together the Phala Phala report. For some insight on this, we're joined now by Brutus Malada, political strategist. Very good evening to you. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I suppose we should start off. Congratulations are in order for you and your new wife, Joburg Mayor Dr. Mpho. I read, in the midst of the chaos and the noise, I read that you said you found your soulmate.
Yes, I'm a happy man, and I'm looking forward to growing old with my soulmate. Thank you.
That's fantastic. So let's get to the crux of it. The ANC's integrity report there, Commission doesn't make mention of the elephants in the room. I mean, that seems to be a matter that was not discussed. Zweli Mkhize's digital vibes matter, which was something that one would have thought, as an outstanding matter, would come to the forefront. But it didn't make it. What does this now point to, with the conference only a few days away and some really pressing matters that needed to be ironed out?
Look, the ANC is facing a serious crisis of leadership. It is bereft of ethical leaders. Hence, you can't close your eyes and think about 10 people in the ANC who are people of integrity, that you could say that they are clean. So when you look at everybody, whether you talk about Ramaphosa, you talk about Zweli Mkhize, you talk about David Mabuza, all of them, they've got skeletons. So what is happening? They are trying to cleanse themselves. But the public knows that there is no one left in the ANC. So whatever outcome we have out of this conference of the ANC, whether they clean the report or they don't, we will end up with someone who is tainted.
You wrote an opinion piece very critical of President Cyril Ramaphosa, saying that he's been a serious disappointment and he wasted a lot of time trying to wear Mandela's ugly shoes rather than accepting the responsibility at hand.
Yeah, look, when any person with ambition to become a president, they clearly have something that they want to do, something that they want to leave behind as a legacy. So when you look at all the presidents that we have had, you'd find that there are maybe one or two things that you can identify as the clear things that they prioritized during their tenure. When you talk of Nelson Mandela, it was a legacy of reconciliation, uniting black and white people together. When you look at Thabo Mbeki's tenure, it was economic growth. You remember there was talk of Asgisa, there was talk of GIA, there was talk of the economic reform. And that is what Mbeki left as a legacy, and the building of institutions. You come to Jacob Zuma, it was a legacy of plunder. Hence, we have the commission now. There's no commission on state capture. You look at Cyril Ramaphosa. Unfortunately, there's nothing to show. He promised a new dawn. There was no dawn at all. We are still in slumber. We have a problem of ESCOM, where he promised that he's going to reform the state. We had an expectation that the government departments are going to be reduced, but nothing was done. You look at the unity message that he had of uniting the ANC. The ANC is seriously divided. So Ramaphosa has nothing to show.
What about his enthusiasm on fixing law enforcement institutions and agencies?
Look, there's very little that has been done and achieved throughout his tenure so far. And, you know, if you fail to do certain things within at least the first 2 years, the third year, fourth year, you are actually out. And Ramaphosa has failed to make good of the goodwill that he had from the public. Remember, he took over from a Jacob Zuma. So we were at our lowest. The only thing that he could have done was to look at the low-hanging fruits, such as dealing with corruption, such as a reform of the state institutions, And by the way, Ramaphosa was deputy president under Jacob Zuma. So he was aware that ESCOM is in crisis. He was aware that SAA was dying. So we expected that as soon as he comes in, he will have a plan to fix the state, and nothing was done so whatsoever.
So how do you think that he could have constructed this legacy ahead of, you know, him sitting there as deputy and obviously knowing where he was heading in the next few years?
Look, the mistake that Ramaphosa did was he went into the state, into government, without a core team. Nobody knows who is in Ramaphosa's inner kitchen, inner circle. So when you take the state, look at what the despots do. I'm sorry to bring that as a lesson. What they focus on is key state institutions that they will occupy immediately in a coup d'etat. What are those state institutions? It's security forces. It is the broadcast. It is the defense and the economy. That's what they do. When Ramaphosa came in, he didn't have a minister. He didn't have his own commissioner of police. He didn't have his own person for intelligence. And neither did he have someone strong for the economy. He ended up having to draw Tito Mboweni from retirement. It is clear that he didn't have a plan in place to say, what am I going to do in the first 2 years of my presidency? So Ramaphosa failed a lesson on statecraft, because what you do, you need to prioritize certain state institutions and make sure that you drive them. If you don't do that, they will actually collapse you. So we have seen what happened when there was a riot in Durban. The very same institutions that were supposed to support him, they are the ones that actually let him down. It's simply because he didn't have a core team that he was going to reform the state with.
You also make mention of ministers and people in his office that really should have been done away with a lot sooner, instead of, you know, taking a lot of time and assessing on whether or not the candidate was suitable to be in such a position, like you make mention of Malusi Gigaba in your instance.
Yeah, I saw Malusi talking on TV very recently. And such people, Ramaphosa should have dealt with them immediately. Malusi Gigaba was tainted. We were aware before Ramaphosa became president that Malusi was tainted with the Guptas. So to keep them, he was trying to extend an olive branch towards the other faction in the ANC, but that did not help him at all. Hence, he found himself in the situation that he finds himself in today. So he has failed also because he was too soft with the faction that actually did not even support him. What he needed to do was to bring people within the ANC, those who have never been tainted, if they are still there, even if it meant looking down in lower structures, and get rid of people like Malusi, people like Batabile Dlamini, people like Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. But he was trying to unify the ANC, and he failed even in that regard.
So what does this speak to now, looking at the elections in 2024 and the likelihood? I mean, you speak in your other opinion pieces around Gauteng, saying that it will be a watershed moment as the ANC is looking to, you know, emerge strongly there.
So the ANC is dying slowly, and I doubt that the ANC will still be in power in 2029. What we may find is a coalition government in 2024 at national and in Gauteng. Definitely Gauteng, the ANC is going to lose, because it's actually hanging on a thread. It is thanks to a vote from the ACDP that it was able to form a government and have 50+1. Now, the trajectory that we've seen over the past 3 elections is that the ANC is losing support. And in Gauteng, it's likely to be under 40%. With that in mind, we have a possibility of a different premier in Gauteng. And if you lose Gauteng, because Gauteng is significant economically and electorally, because it has a large population and a large, a voter population. So if you lose Gauteng and you don't have Western Cape, and you also lose KwaZulu-Natal, you are out. Even if you were to hang on with the other rural provinces, you actually become a lame duck. Kind of a government, because you will be a government without the economic hub and without the legislative center of government.
So how does that then explain the wrestling within the Gauteng Metro when it comes to looking ahead at 2024?
Yeah, look, what we are seeing, the coalition collapsing and reinstating and so forth, it's part of the game where political parties are positioning themselves for 2024. Any move that you see, people, these political parties that are involved, they are doing whatever that they're doing to position themselves in 2024. Everybody wants to be around the table when that coalition is negotiated in 2024. So we should not be surprised if there will be changes now and then in these governments. It will be a struggle for power and positioning themselves, because if you are in government, the EFF has learned a very big lesson, that to hand over or to give power to a political party and then you go into council and push for motions, people don't remember who sponsored a motion. They remember who the mayor was. Yeah. They remember who the MMCs were. So they don't remember you as a councillor. So the EFF has learned a lesson, and hence we see that they actually want to be in government in the case of Ekurhuleni, for instance.
Thank you so much. Let's leave it there for now. Thank you for joining us in studio and breaking it down. Brutus Malada, political strategist, wrapping up the political movement.